In 2005, an incident occurred on an island off the coast of Alaska that would later be known as the Shadow Moses incident. When armed terrorists take over a nuclear weapons disposal facility and capture VIP hostages, the US military responds by bringing out of retirement a legendary soldier, whose mission is to infiltrate the island facility and stop the terrorist plot. His codename is Solid Snake. He'll fight multiple enemies throughout the story, who will not only challenge him on a physical level, but will test his mental fortitude. In this video, I'll be taking a look back at the enemies encountered in Metal Gear Solid and analysing each of them in turn. And if you do enjoy this and want to see more, leave a like and subscribe, that way you can stay up to date on all future videos I put up. Before going into the topic of the video, it's best to provide some context to the enemies in the game to have a better understanding of what Snake is up against. The nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island was constructed a few short years before the incident. Due to many of the dismantling facilities across the country reaching maximum capacity, the US government needed a place to temporarily store their nuclear weapons. It was at this time that the START II treaty was being signed between the US and Russia to reduce their number of strategic nuclear warheads. However, what the world didn't know is that the disposal facility is a front for the development of a new type of Metal Gear, codenamed Rex. This was a joint top-secret project by weapons manufacturer Abrams Tank Corporation and DARPA, which is a technology research agency for the US military. If word got out that the US were constructing a Metal Gear, then it would spark an international incident as well as a new arms race. In order to maintain this secrecy, the military assigned Foxhound along with the Next Generation Special Forces unit to safeguard the island as the project reached its final stages. Foxhound are an elite Black Ops unit that were created by the legendary mercenary Big Boss, who was killed in battle in the late 90s by Solid Snake. Foxhound specialized in covert solo infiltration missions, and all members are rigorously trained. The current commander of the unit is Liquid Snake. Under his leadership, Foxhound started an armed insurrection at the disposal facility. They took the DARPA chief Donald Anderson and Arms Tech president Kenneth Baker hostages before hijacking Metal Gear Rex, and threatened to launch one of its nukes using Rex unless Washington gave them the remains of Big Boss and $1 billion within 24 hours. This became known as the Shadow Moses incident. The government couldn't risk the knowledge of this secret weapon getting out to the public, nor risk handing over Big Boss's genetic code to the terrorists. So with time running out, they ordered the former commander of Foxhound, Roy Campbell, to enlist Solid Snake to help stop the terrorist plot. While Snake was briefed on the situation, the medical chief of Foxhound, Naomi Hunter, injected him with nanomachines to help him for his mission. His objectives were to rescue the hostages, learn the terrorists' nuclear launch capabilities, and prevent them from carrying out their threat. So with that all in mind, let's take a closer look at the enemies. The Next Generation Special Forces unit, also known as the Genome Soldiers, are a secret US counter-terrorist group who also serve as reserve members of Foxhound. These soldiers were trained to respond to any terror threats involving weapons of mass destruction, whether it be nuclear, biological, or chemical. Each member of the unit were injected with the soldier genes of Big Boss, making them formidable soldiers, and through this gene therapy, they gained superior abilities and increased intelligence. There are 5 types of Genome Soldiers. Though all of their actions are exactly the same, their appearance differs based on their locations. The Arctic Warfare Soldiers patrol areas that are in sub-zero temperatures and wear winter uniforms, white balaclavas, tactical webbings, and thick gloves. The Light Infantry patrol many of the building interiors and wear olive drab uniforms, black balaclavas, combat webbings, and fingerless gloves. The heavily armed soldiers are mainly found guarding the armory below the tank hangar. They wear grey fatigues, black balaclavas and helmets, fingerless gloves, body armour and elbow pads for extra layers of protection. The NBC warfare soldiers are mainly seen on the ground level of the nuclear warhead storage building. They wear yellow protective gear with hoods, gas masks and tactical webbings. The assault troops are only encountered during scripted alert phases and wear black uniforms, gas masks and combat webbings, and all the Genome Soldier uniforms have Foxhound patches on their arms. They are equipped with the Farmer's bullpup assault rifle that they'll use to shoot in burst rounds from any range, including the ground if Snake remains there for too long. Up close, they'll slam the rifle butt into Snake to drop him to the floor. In one unique encounter, in the cells where Snake and Merrill are ambushed, the soldiers will throw 3 fragmentation grenades into the room. If Snake is discovered on the ground floor of the nuclear warhead storage building, then they will flood the room with poisonous gas. And on the cargo elevator, they'll perform a rare attack by going full auto and firing in a wide arc. The Next Generation Special Forces started out as an anti-terrorist special ops unit, made up of members from former biochem units, technical escort units, and the nuclear emergency search team, and would eventually include many former mercenaries from Big Boss's own private army when the US military bought out their contracts after his death. Years later, after the government recovered the remains of Big Boss, his genetic mapping was completed, and the most important parts of his genes discovered, which were those that made him an effective soldier, and through gene therapy, his DNA was transplanted into regular soldiers. Because all these members went through the same gene therapy, they felt that the unit was their only family, and called themselves the Sons of Big Boss. Shortly before the uprising, the Genome Soldiers discovered the classified information about the soldier genes and performed further experiments on themselves. It's later revealed that they started to suffer from a genetic disorder as a result of their experiments and would need Big Boss's remains to be able to correct the problem. This would be part of their demands to the US government. Decoy Octopus is a master of imitation and disguise, who's also fluent in a dozen languages. He's the only member of Foxhound that Snake never battles against, and is only briefly seen outside of his disguise as the DARPA chief when Raven unmasks him after his death. His nose and ears have been removed to better fit the masks he wears. He can copy his target's mannerisms, the sound of their voice, and will even go so far as to drain their blood into himself. Very little is known about his history other than he originated from Mexico, but even that may just be a cover for the Master of Disguises. What is known is that he had an important part to play in the Shadow Moses incident, after Ocelot tortured to death the real DARPA chief and failed to extract from him his part of the detonation code that would give the terrorists' nuclear launch capability. Liquid turned to a new plan. Using Decoy Octopus to disguise himself as Donald Anderson, he would await a rescue attempt and find out from his rescuer the code, or otherwise trick them into activating Rex. As predicted, Snake was sent into the facility where he gained access to the holding cell, where the faux DARPA chief was being held, and through misinformation, he would eventually activate Metal Gear Rex, believing the terrorists had already taken control of it when he tried to shut it down. Everything seemed like it was finally going to plan before Octopus dies from a heart attack brought on by the deadly Fox Die virus. Unknown to Snake, he was being used by the Pentagon as a viral carrier, injected into him by Naomi Hunter during the mission briefing. It's a retrovirus that was developed to target only specific people's DNA and cause a cardiac arrest, such as members of Foxhound and those involved in Metal Gear Rex's construction, so that it can still remain a secret from the public, and it was Decoy Octopus who became its first victim. Revolver Ocelot is Foxhound's interrogator and Liquid's right-hand man. He's an expert gunfighter who likes spaghetti westerns, dresses like a traditional cowboy, and wears a Foxhound trenchcoat. Ocelot's uniform has a black armband on his left arm, used to show someone in mourning, though for whom is still unknown, as he's worn one since the early era of the Cold War. He used his Russian connections to gain the support of Sergei Glukovich, who provided Foxhound and the Genome Army with military hardware and a helicopter gunship. Early in the insurrection, Ocelot tortured the Arms Tech president, resulting in Baker giving up his part of the detonation code. When Liquid predicted the military would send Solid Snake to the island, Ocelot couldn't resist the chance to duel with the living legend, and set the stage of battle in the armory by using Baker for bait. When Snake arrives to find the Arms Tech president tied up in the middle of the room and connected to C4 explosives, Ocelot chose his moment to strike. His favoured weapon is the Colt single-action army revolver that he loves to reload in the middle of battle. The muzzle velocity of a bullet fired from a revolver is slower than one fired from an automatic, and the bullet can sometimes lodge in the victim, doing more damage, which is one of the reasons Ocelot loves the weapon. He'll run around the room to keep his distance from Snake. Before shooting from afar, Ocelot will fire a single round, either directly at his target if he's in the line of sight, or will use the walls and support pillars to ricochet the bullet if Snake is hiding. The bullets will sometimes rebound off a surface twice. The battle ends when Ocelot's right hand is cut off by the cyborg ninja, forcing him to retreat. Ocelot was born on the battlefield. Both his parents were soldiers, his mother American, his father Russian. Growing up in the Soviet Union, he became a soldier who fought in many battles around the world. During the Cold War, he was a member of Spetsnaz, a special operations unit of GRU, which was the main military intelligence service. It's here where he learned the most advanced torture techniques, by practicing on prisoners held within the Lubyanka building in Moscow, which was the national headquarters of the KGB. After the collapse, Ocelot served in the Russian tax police service, before joining the Foreign Intelligence Service, where he was tasked with intel gathering and espionage activities outside of the Russian Federation. But he was dissatisfied with the system, and soon left the service when Foxhound recruited him. However, Ocelot's true loyalties lied elsewhere, as he secretly worked for the US President, George Sears, as a double agent. Donald Anderson knew about this, forcing Ocelot to stage his death as an accident. This prevented Liquid from getting the launch codes for Metal Gear, giving Ocelot the time to complete his true goal, which is to retrieve all the test data on Rex, and is the likely reason that his DNA wasn't targeted by Naomi's Foxdie virus like the other members of Foxhound. Encountered within the canyon, this M1 Abrams tank is commanded by Vulcan Raven, whose intention is to test Snake's capabilities. This main battle tank is produced and used by the US military and was designed for modern armoured ground warfare. For its armaments, the tank has a 120mm smoothbore gun that's used as its primary weapon. A 50 caliber machine gun is mounted in front of the commander's hatch, and a 7.62mm machine gun is fixed in front of the loader's hatch. It attacks by firing a shell with its main gun from long range. If close enough, the Genome Soldier, standing in the loader's hatch, will fire with the machine gun instead. And the tank will even attempt to knock Snake to the ground and crush him with its treads. But despite the tank's superiority, Snake eventually disables it by throwing a fragmentation grenade into the hatch where the Genome Soldier was, and causes the vehicle to explode. Raven not only survived the tank's destruction, but avoided infection from the Foxdie virus and awaited for his next chance to battle Snake. Grey Fox is the mysterious cyborg ninja who infiltrates the facility in search of Solid Snake. He's encased in a powered exoskeleton suit that allows him to perform superhuman feats. He has increased agility, strength, and reflexes that all help him in battle, with the added addition of a stealth camouflage that renders him invisible to the naked eye. When Grey Fox first encounters Snake in the armory after cutting off Ocelot's hand, he was forced to withdraw after the onset of painful convulsions. He goes on to help Snake in his mission by giving anonymous messages about the dangers ahead under the codename Deep Throat, all to help guide Snake to their place of battle, and they eventually meet within the underground lab. All Grey Fox wishes for is to find some respite that only a fight to the death with Snake can bring him. The cyborg ninja uses a high-frequency blade modelled after the traditional Japanese katana sword. As the weapon resonates at extremely high vibration frequencies, it's capable of cutting through most objects. He's able to move around the room quickly, and after an attack, he'll either run, jump, or somersault out of sight to confuse the opponent before choosing his moment to strike. If firearms are used against him, he'll use his blade to deflect the bullets. Grey Fox has several types of attacks. He'll either launch forward, spinning in the air to do a horizontal slice with his blade, or will do a spinning double kick, followed by a spinning heel kick. Other attacks involve two straight punches, followed by a low sweeping kick, and will flip into the air to do a super stomp. When Snake puts his weapon aside, Grey Fox will sheath his sword to continue the fight hand to hand. After enough damage, he'll use stealth camouflage to hide himself at random points in the room to do a surprise attack by either doing a cartwheel kick or a spinning heel kick. Once he's taken even more damage, Grey Fox will walk towards Snake and phase in and out of sight before delivering a strong single straight punch. The fight ends when his powered exoskeleton suit malfunctions, causing it to release a sphere of energy that harms Snake if he gets too close. Grey Fox flees the lab after another convulsive episode, and Snake realizes who the cyborg ninja really is. Frank Yeager was a mercenary and a former agent in Foxhound during the 1990s. He's the only person to ever attain the codename Fox, which is the unit's highest commendation. During the Rhodesian Civil War, he killed Naomi Hunter's parents, who was only a young girl at the time. Out of guilt, he adopted her and treated Naomi like his younger sister, while he kept the truth about her parents a secret. In the 1980s, the pair would meet Big Boss during the Mozambican Civil War, and would eventually bring them back to the United States with him. Grey Fox was Solid Snake's friend during their time in Foxhound, but his loyalty to Big Boss forced him to fight each other during the Zanzibar land disturbance, and left for dead after his fight with Snake. His body was recovered, then subjected to drugs and experimental gene therapy for several years. Naomi joined Foxhound's medical team, where she helped Fox escape his containment, and staged his death in an explosion that killed the head researcher responsible for making him a cyborg. The whole ordeal had left him unstable, and without access to medicine, he would further deteriorate. But during the Shadow Moses incident, his battle with Snake helped him stabilize his mind to remember his former identity, and joined Snake in his fight against Rex. However, Grey Fox is eventually killed by Liquid. Psycho Mantis is the psychic member of Foxhound who has the powers of telepathy and telekinesis, and is one of the most powerful practitioners in the world. He appears malnourished, with burn marks on his body, and part of his nose is missing. Barcodes are tattooed on both shoulders, with a third marked on his head. Staples can be seen around his head and the side of the mouth, where they were cut into from some kind of experiment possibly done on himself, and Mantis wears an all-black leather outfit with a gas mask. When he failed to gain the detonation codes from reading the minds of the DARPA chief and Arms Tech president due to surgical implants in their brains to prevent a psychic reading, Ocelot turned to torture. Mantis confronts Snake in the commander's room, where he gains control of Meryl's mind, forcing her to shoot Snake, but he manages to knock her unconscious. With his telekinesis, Mantis can hover in the air or glide across the room, and will use optic camouflage to disappear from one spot and reappear elsewhere. With his telepathy, he can read Snake's mind to avoid all forms of attack. In a fourth wall breaking move, the screen will go black, showing the name of the game's creator to confuse the player. Mantis has several types of attacks, such as throwing a transparent ball of psychic energy toward his target. Using his telekinetic ability, he'll use various objects around the room. Chairs from the east wall will be drawn to Mantis that will begin to spin around him. The two sculptures, seen at separate corners of the room, will fly off their pedestals to hit Snake as they switch positions. He'll manipulate some vases by the broken mirror to strike at Snake several times. From the west wall, the mounted deer skulls will be pulled toward Mantis before he launches them across the room. And on the northern wall, a bundle of books from the shelves, as well as some framed portraits from the wall, will fly across to the opposite side of the room before returning. When Snake shoots the sculptures modelled after Mantis's disfigured face, he's given the chance to strike. As Mantis hates the sight of his own face, he briefly loses concentration by this action. And in his act of desperation, Mantis tries to manipulate Meryl into shooting herself, but is foiled and finally defeated. Born in a small Russian village, his mother died giving birth to him, which earned his father's hatred. When he discovered his powers and read his father's thoughts, he began to fear his father one day killing him, and through this fear, Mantis burned down his village, killing his father in the process. He joined the KGB during the Cold War, only to leave for the United States after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Mantis worked as an FBI psychic profiler, where he would enter the minds of serial killers to uncover their crimes. However, during an interrogation, he went too far into the mind of one killer that made Mantis become one himself. He then moved on to freelancing as a psychic spy, working for the highest bidder around the world. Throughout his life, he's read the minds of thousands of people and became disgusted with humanity. He's eventually recruited into Foxhound by Liquid to help him in the island insurrection, and near to death, he reveals that he never cared about Liquid's revolution, only that he wanted the chance to kill as many people as he could. It's suggested that Mantis may have been protected from getting infected by the Foxdie virus because of the gas mask he always wore, but it's never established as Mantis dies from his wounds battling Snake. The Mi-24, or Hind, is a Russian-made attack helicopter that is used by various countries across the globe for close air support, aerial combat, and anti-tank operations. Its armaments consist of a 4-barrel rotary heavy machine gun mounted on the nose of the gunship, rocket pods on the underside of the wing stubs, and guided anti-tank missiles on the wing tips. The Hind had been given to Liquid by Sergei Galukovich as a down payment in exchange for all data on Metal Gear Rex. When two F-16s were sent out to divert attention away from Snake's infiltration of the island, Liquid manages to shoot them down, flying the Hind himself. Later confronting Snake at the communications towers, he launches 2 rocket barrages that destroys the first tower's rooftop and connecting bridge. Snake is then forced to take another path toward the second tower, while taking fire from the Hind's heavy machine gun, and when he makes it to the rooftop, a battle ensues. Liquid is seen personally piloting the helicopter gunship, while one of the Genome Soldiers operates the weapons system. The Hind flies surprisingly quick, even in a heavy snowstorm, proving once again how skilled a pilot Liquid is. The helicopter will either maneuver around the tower from afar, or circle close below the tower's railings. The Hind will attack by shooting with the heavy machine gun, often doing so during a flyover. And on 2 occasions, it will fire its anti-tank missiles to damage the roof surface. In the end, Snake was able to damage the gunship with Stinger missiles, and Liquid, unable to keep control of the gunship, crashes the Hind on the ground. Snake discovers a short time later that Liquid had survived the helicopter's destruction. Sniper Wolf is Foxhound's sharpshooter and one of the best in the world, capable of waiting for days or even weeks without eating, or moving from her sniping position. She never takes her eyes off her target. Wolf usually forms an emotional attachment to her victims and doesn't think about anything else before they're killed. Her favoured weapon is a semi-automatic sniper rifle, known as the PSG-1. To enhance her accuracy, she takes diazepam, which is a drug that relieves anxiety and relaxes tense muscles. Wolf initially wears a somewhat sassier version of the olive drab uniform, with the zipper pulled down to reveal her cleavage. She also has protective layerings on her knees and elbow pads to support her sniping positions. Wolf later wears an Arctic jacket with a combat webbing. During the first encounter in a passageway, she shoots Meryl, using her as bait to lure Snake out into the open. And though it seemed he defeated Wolf using his own procured sniper rifle, she and 2 Genome Soldiers ambush and capture him. But after Snake escapes his cell and reaches the snowfield, he encounters Wolf once again for a second battle. She attacks by using her sniper rifle from multiple vantage points, or hides behind the tower's support pillar and the trees on the snowfield. Wolf will either be standing, kneeling, or in the prone position when she fires. And after she takes her shot, or her position is discovered, Wolf will either run for cover or take up a new vantage point before aiming her rifle again. The battle ends when Sniper Wolf is lung shot. Sniper Wolf is an Iraqi Kurd who was born on a battlefield. Wolf and her family moved from one shelter to another regularly, hiding from the Iraqi regime, who were hunting her people. She would often wake up to find another friend or loved one dead beside her, while the international community did nothing to help, which made her grow to despise the world. But it was Big Boss who rescued Wolf, raising her as a soldier so she could defend herself, and in turn grew to respect him. After the death of Big Boss, Wolf was later recruited into Foxhound, where she participated in the revolt due to her desire for revenge on the world's governments for turning a blind eye. When Wolf was finally defeated, she accepted her fate with dignity, realizing that she was really only waiting for someone to kill her. It's never known if Wolf got infected by Foxdie, though it was suggested that her diazepam may have prevented or slowed the infection, as Snake takes aim and pulls the trigger at her request. Vulcan Raven is the unit's heavy weapons and explosives specialist. He's the strongest member of Foxhound, who shows it with his muscled body and can withstand freezing temperatures. Raven wears olive drab pants, military boots and gloves. He has tattoos seen across his chest and arms, including one image of a raven on his forehead. He wields a portable modified version of the M61A1 Vulcan cannon that's widely used on American fighter aircrafts like the F-16s. It's a 6-barrel rotary gun which fires 20mm rounds at an extremely high rate, fed from the huge metal container strapped to his back. After the tank battle in the canyon, Raven later faces Snake for a second time, within an underground warehouse. Raven starts out by walking between the large metal containers searching for Snake, while often stopping to spray bullets before continuing on. If Snake is discovered, Raven will continue to fire upon him until he's out of sight. If a remote-controlled missile is seen moving towards him, Raven will shoot at it. Over time, he'll begin to lose his patience and move into a jog, while destroying the warehouse containers to block Snake's path. But none of this stops Snake from eventually defeating Raven and ending the battle. Born in the state of Alaska, Raven is half Native Alaskan American and half Inuit. He was raised as a shaman and supposedly has supernatural abilities. Raven's a graduate emeritus from the University of Alaska, who took part in the Eskimo Indian Olympics and excelled at various competitions that are meant to test a person both physically and spiritually. It was when he made a trip across the frozen Bering Strait to Siberia that he met Ocelot when he was a GRU agent. Raven joined the Soviet Special Forces unit Vimpel, but after the collapse of the Soviet Union, was demoted after Boris Yeltsin's coup in the early 1990s. Raven soon after fled Russia to become a mercenary for hire, eventually joining Big Boss and Outer Heaven. And following its downfall, Raven, on the recommendation of Ocelot, joined Foxhound. After his defeat in the warehouse, he was eaten alive by his own ravens. Once again, due to Raven's death, it's unknown if he was infected from the Foxdie virus. Metal Gear Rex is a nuclear-equipped walking battle tank, capable of launching a nuclear weapon from any terrain toward any target on the planet. After Snake's previous Metal Gear encounters, an attempt to make one of their own within the United States was planned but officially scrapped due to the government's budget cuts. So the Department of Defense turned to the private sector. A weapons company called Arms Tech, who were also in financial trouble. Both saw the profits they could make with this secret weapons project and set out to build a Metal Gear for the army. In public, the US and Russia are in the midst of nuclear reduction talks, but in reality, as Russia and China still maintains a significant nuclear presence in the world, the US needs a deterrence. But with Metal Gear Rex, this would go beyond a simple deterrence and tip the balance in their favor. The nuclear weapons disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island was constructed to conceal the development of Rex. Its main purpose for design is the railgun. Using experimental electromagnetic acceleration, it's capable of delivering an untraceable nuclear warhead without the propellant trail that gives away the launch position of a missile. And with the warheads also equipped with its own stealth device, Rex is capable of delivering an undetectable nuclear missile. The Arms Tech president and DARPA chief were at the facility to oversee the railgun testing exercise using a dummy warhead before it was captured by Foxhound, who then replaced it with a real missile and set out to recover the launch codes. After Snake is deceived into activating Rex, he tries to stop it by direct means. Rex is controlled by a single pilot, in this case Liquid Snake, within a completely self-enclosed cockpit, shut off from the outside world. The radome on its left arm houses multiple electronic sensors connected to a high-tech VR interface within the cockpit. Rex has several types of attacks. At a mid-range target, it'll fire off 30mm rounds from a pair of 7-barrel rotary cannons on its shoulders. If the target is further away, Rex will launch a trio of anti-tank missiles from its knees. And if the enemy is close, Rex will either utilize the free electron laser cannon mounted on Rex's belly to shoot off a blue laser beam along the floor, or use one of its legs to perform a powerful stomp attack before dragging it back across the ground. With the help of Grey Fox, they destroy Rex's radome, using Snake's Stinger missiles and several final shots from Fox's exoskeleton arm cannon to render Liquid blind, forcing him to pilot Rex in the open. And after a second round battle, Snake launches a missile at the open cockpit that causes Metal Gear to malfunction, effectively ending the fight. Liquid Snake, who is the current leader of Foxhound, led the insurrection on Shadow Moses Island and is Solid Snake's twin brother. Because of his genetic engineering before birth, Liquid gained enhanced strength and durability, superior combat skills, and an IQ level of 180. As a clone, like his brother, he resembles a younger Big Boss, with the only differences being his darker skin tone and lighter hair colour. Through most of his time on the island, he wears a Foxhound trench coat similar to the one once worn by his father. Given the name Eli at birth, Liquid was born in the US in 1972, cloned from Big Boss's DNA as part of the Les Enfants Terribles project. It was designed to create the perfect soldier, using the genes of Big Boss, who was one of the greatest soldiers in the 20th century. The brothers were modified on the genetic level. Liquid gained Big Boss's dominant genes, while Solid had his father's recessive genes, but Liquid was led to believe that he had been born with the recessive genes, which made him feel inferior to Solid Snake, and carried a strong hatred towards both his brother and Big Boss. After the project was scrapped, Eli was taken to England, but at some point, he appears in Africa as a child soldier. In the early 90s, Liquid returned to England, joining the Secret Intelligence Service as a spy, where he was tasked to penetrate the Middle East as a sleeper agent. He did this by serving in the Special Air Service, becoming the youngest man in history to join its ranks, and was flown out to Iraq during the First Gulf War, where Liquid was assigned to track down and destroy mobile Scud missile launchers. He was taken prisoner and declared missing in action. He was later rescued by the US government, where he would eventually join Foxhound, becoming its leader after his brother retired from the unit. Ocelot as a double agent for the US president convinced Liquid to launch an insurrection against the government so that he can use the revolt as cover to get his hands on Rex's test data. When Liquid learned from a spy working within the Pentagon about the Foxdie virus, he added a vaccine to their demands. It's later revealed that with Metal Gear Rex in his possession, Liquid planned to join forces with Colonel Golugovich's Russian army to turn Shadow Moses into a new outer heaven. Liquid's true goal is to turn the world into a perpetual battlefield where soldiers have a purpose again and who are honoured and needed, similar to the dreams Big Boss once had. After the Metal Gear battle, Liquid drags Snake to the top of Rex's head, where Meryl's unconscious body lies nearby, wired to a timed explosive. The brothers then engage in a bare-handed fight. Liquid has several types of attacks. He'll often first either sidestep or duck Snake's attack before counter-striking with a side kick. If Snake attempts to place Liquid in a chokehold, he'll reverse it by grabbing Snake's arm and throwing him overhead. When Liquid is thrown, he'll perform a recovery roll. In the later half of the fight, Liquid will do a 2-punch combo strike, often following up with a high kick. He'll also do a powerful shoulder charge. Liquid is defeated when he's knocked over the side of Rex, plummeting to the ground far below. But he survives the fall, and a jeep chase ensues inside a road tunnel. While Liquid steers the jeep, he uses his Farmer's assault rifle set to burst fire while ducking down to avoid Snake's return fire from the jeep's mounted machine gun. Liquid will even use his jeep to ram into the rear or side of Snake's vehicle. They eventually crash outside the facility, where Liquid again survives and attempts to kill Snake and Meryl. However, Liquid suddenly dies after collapsing to the ground, finally succumbing to the Foxdie virus. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video and I hope you enjoyed it. My next monster analysis video will be on the original Resident Evil 4 game from 2005, and I'm looking into making more Silent Hill videos. I'm thinking of starting a brand new series that's going to be based around level design analysis, and I can't think of a better game to start it off with than the twisted world of Silent Hill, so look out for that. And if this video is liked enough, then I'll be happy to do an MGS2 enemies analysis video also. So if you're new to the channel and are interested in any of these, then subscribe. That way you can stay up to date on all future videos I put up. And once again, thanks to all of you who have subscribed and are helping to make this channel grow. So until the next video, bye everyone.